to episode 4 of Squared Away. I'm your host, Bruno Silva, Vice President of Marketing at MC Squared, your go-to source for all things events, trade shows, experiential, and live marketing. For today's episode, we're going to focus on what it takes to build a successful connection with prospects, partners, and clients alike within the event space, while also building compelling event programs together. To do so, we've invited 2 incredible individuals leading the way within our national growth team, Jessica Gauvin, Vice President of Growth, and Mike Hanifan, Senior Strategic Sales Executive. We're going to have to cut that title. Yeah, it's a lot of title. So welcome, guys. Before we kick this day off, we want to go ahead and just kind of introduce you to our audience and our listeners, starting with Jess.
Hi, I am Jessica Gauvin, VP of Growth with MC Squared. I've been here for just a little over 4 years now and currently based in the Las Vegas office.
Hey everyone, I'm Mike Hanifan. I'm an account executive in Boston. I've been in the industry for about almost 20 years now and been at MC Squared coming up on 2 years shortly.
Awesome. I'm excited for this one.
That went by fast.
It's crazy.
It did, right? Now let's slow time up and let's go back into the past a little and talk a little bit about your experience in the industry itself. So what companies have you guys jumped around? What kind of events have you focused on?
Sure. I'll kick it off. I first started working in trade shows. A friend of ours had a trade show company, so I got my feet wet there. And then I spent some time at another local exhibit house in the Boston area for the majority of my career, which was 15 plus years. Started just on the sales account management cycle and then got up to bigger, larger programs. And that's coincidentally where I met Jess. And then most recently came to MC Squared about 18 and a half months ago.
Because we're inseparable, buddy. So I went to school for criminal justice. Did not think I was going to venture into marketing, but fresh out of college, I landed a job at the same small exhibit house Michael worked at just outside of Boston as a receptionist, worked my way up to account management. And then went to the dark side.
No, she left me. Legit called me one day. I just landed in Dubai, was going to a show, and then I get yelled at. I'm like a zombie, couldn't sleep in flight, got this email, and I didn't even check my email because my phone wasn't working, and Jess is like, oh my gosh, why haven't you answered my email or talked to me? I'm like, what are you talking about? I just got here. I'm a zombie. And then she moved on to the next level.
It was my breaking up with Michael. I'm going to the client side. So
you waited for him to go to Dubai to do that. That's super cold.
I literally
waited till the plane was in the air.
I drafted the email and I kept tracking his flight to make sure it had taken off because I felt so bad sending it. But it was a great opportunity to kind of venture onto the other side. Left this industry, went into firearms and defense, stayed there for 6 or 7 years, and then thought, oh, I'm bored. I want to come back. So in 2017, I moved to Vegas.
Only you would get bored of firearms.
It was the defense industry, guys. Let's speak professionally about it, okay? Get your mind out of the gutter.
Awesome. So obviously, during that entire time, you guys built connections, right? It's shaking hands. It's picking up the phone. It's even if it's through email. Let's talk about that because one thing that I've always been surprised with this industry is it's everybody knows everyone. It's insane. Whether it's going to association events or even just your CES. I'm just walking the floor, for example, with Ben. It's impossible to get through the floor without him stopping a handful of times and shaking someone. So connections is everything. We always sell, we're allowing our brands to connect with their customers. But then there's a lot of conversations that happen beforehand that build the relationship with the agency and the brands, and vice versa with other partners within the jobs that we do. Let's touch on that a bit. Building connections, the importance of it, and how it gets done. Jess.
So I guess I would have to say what I think is like super important is your integrity. I think the people who have the most success in this industry have integrity. Your clients can trust you. You have the ability to be an active listener and you want to continue to learn. So if you can show up and have trust with your partner, you listen to what their needs are, and then you're open to what the possibilities might be. We've all been doing trade show exhibits forever, but I think personally for me in 2020, what really pushed me was, okay, we can't build an exhibit. So how is my customer going to go to market? And why did they believe me that this will work? Well, we have the trust there. We're coming up with new innovative ideas. We need to drive that forward. So those first three things came to mind were like trust, ability to listen, and then the drive to continue to learn.
And I agree with what Jess said on that. When the biggest thing I think overall is just your personal level of how you treat other people. You know, it's a connection, but it's how connections go upstream and downstream. You know, you've got your client side. They entrust us with, it's their job, it's their career, it's their way of life. You know, we have to deliver. We promise them that we're going to put a scuba tank on the side of a building with a bus in it. We have to be able to do that. You know, we come up with these great, crazy ideas. We have to execute on that. Also, on the other end of the connection level and who you know is the person that's, you know, in Chicago and the electrician that you get to know every year because you see them every Thanksgiving for RSNA and get to know their family and it's stuff like it's just weird. As you said with Ben, you go down the hall and you know, end up knowing everyone. And it's over time, that's what you build is those relationships and people trust in you. And it's not just, you know, it's Mike and Jess or it's that person, but you get to know them and you appreciate them as a person as well.
And that is obviously highlighting a lot of that starting point, right? So let's talk a little bit about each of your impressive track records where it comes to managing high volume event programs. So what does it take to drive a brand from that starting handshake to then that 5+ year relationship?
Michael abused me through all of our success, to be honest with you. After you said that sentence, I was like, oh, they don't know what I've been through. But now I'm on the other side abusing him. So
for all of you who don't know, I now report to Jessica.
I mean, it is back to the relationship and integrity, right? Like,
completely.
In some of the success we've had, we didn't have pre-existing relationships with these customers, but, you know, we won an RFP and we built human connection with them. Okay, you know, we want to make you look good at your job every single day, but we also want to know you on a personal level because we're traveling with you to 40 events a year,
right.
And we know that our worlds are up, down, and everywhere. We're together nights and weekends. Like, we might as well have some sort of working relationship. Some of our clients are like besties to us, but other former clients, we just had a great relationship with them because we understood them and had compassion for the sometimes shitty jobs that we have to do. So,
and how did that change starting from the beginning of your career to now? Did that opinion ever kind of alter throughout the years?
I don't think it changes. It gets larger. It gets, you know, it's almost like a snowball. When it starts out, it's one little one, and as it rolls down the hill and things get bigger and bigger, it gets larger to then be a landslide. You know, we look at our clients and they're our friends. You know, you celebrate the good,
holidays,
the bad with holidays with them, you know, like family, you know, they get married or we get married and then you've got funerals and things happen or, you know, they get laid off from a job and then it's, you know, get them somewhere else. We try to do our best, you know, because you like working with people. That's what it all comes down to. It's a people business on every facet and every level.
Yeah. It just made me think of Mike's wedding. Like, my favorite people to see at Mike's wedding were my former colleague from where we used to work together, my former boss, which I quit working with Mike to go work for and was our client, and then some of our other former clients who we spent 5 Thanksgivings with on the show floor at RSNA. So, like, just painting that short sentence and picture, right, is you really go through the trenches together and you come out on the other side.
And the trench can sometimes take a while, right? Like, let's talk about the sales cycle behind that now.
It's long. Definitely, I would say it's long on this end just because we're from the Northeast, so people are always, you know, they want to show me. They want to see
Tell
it.
me again that you're from Boston. Go ahead, just one more time.
What are you talking about? Get the
You
car.
can't have it, Dad.
But that's the big part, you know, with us is people really want to get to know you, fill you out, make sure that you're not going to hoodwink them on that end of it. Like, you're not just going to do a bait and switch on the
Little
program.
slime ball.
Right.
Well, our industry does have a lot of people that are slimy.
It's cutthroat.
So it's hard. It's different, you know.
Yeah. They won't get the bus inside the scuba tank on the side of the
Nope.
road, that's for sure.
No, that's awesome. And, you know, I think that's the important part, right? It's trust. And the pandemic kind of amplified that even more so because now you have brands that are spending a little bit more time in reviewing how they're spending their money and who.
You just made me think of a good point around procurement.
Go ahead.
I would say that's, you know, like obviously we're talking a lot about trust and integrity and relationships, but where we've seen things turn post-pandemic is we now need to not just build the trust with, you know, the either events manager or experiential person or producer, but also with the procurement team. So you better be running your business tight and legitimately because those people are really going to start to poke the holes. And that's who, in my new role here that I took in August, I've really been focused on further developing those relationships. So not only is it buttoned up with procurement, but it's also great for whoever we're working with directly on their program.
Yeah. And I think also the face-to-face has to add an additional value. It starts from the very beginning when you're building that connection, right? You have to be able to, I think when now it's not only do they want to look underneath our hood, but they also want to go ahead and understand the person that they're speaking with on the other side of the table. And I think that's where everything really amplified over the last few years, at least in my eyes.
Yeah. I mean, to Mike's point, nobody wants to be hoodwinked, even down to who you're working with, right? Someone might sell them the car, but then they're like, who's maintaining the car? I need to know who that is on a day-to-day level and basis. So I think we're being asked more to be transparent with who the team will be and letting people kind of get introduced and familiar with them.
Yeah. And what do you think is the X factor in what you guys do on a day-to-day?
Having joined MC Squared in March of 2020, literally a week before the pandemic hit and the world shutting down, I stayed on through the entire time, which is a challenging time for most businesses. To me, like the X factor and what kept us, relevant during an awkward time was I mentioned this earlier, desire to continue to learn and grow. And everyone's favorite word's pivot, but it really was like, okay, this isn't working. What's the next thing we're going to do? If this is working, how can we apply that to different products or different services that our clients offer? Does this work for this? Down to either it was virtual environments or it was mobile tours, but we kept going back to the why. Like our customers need to get out to their customers. How do we do it? And then how do we modify that to, go across a bunch of different categories? But it was just this inherent desire to win and to continue to find the next best thing. And if you're not motivated just as who you are as a human being, then you'll never survive in this world, because you have to be willing to keep getting to the next, whatever the next is, right? Whatever the next big thing is.
And as you said, with the X factor, I think with our clients, one of the things I find the most is just getting the stakeholders on the client side kind of on one page, just because you have someone that's in different brand marketing that just is more in our business about the brand and how it's going to look on the floor. Then you have the sales team who's obviously looking for leads and data capture. You've got the event team that wants logistically to go well. So getting all of them on one track and one page is the hardest part. Once you can get aligned that part of the team and get their goals and their vision, then we can step and execute it and take it, whether it be through a virtual, private meeting, road show, or a regular trade show in that aspect.
Yeah. And I think once you get to the event, that's kind of one of the moments that I always like to go ahead and really nitpick through all of my guests, is understanding what was that one project, that one event, that aha moment where you kind of step back and you go, holy crap, like all of the conversations that we had, all of the meetings, all of the hurdles that we had to jump over, and it finally happened and it was awesome. What was that project within your career, starting with Jess?
Oh.
Ladies first. Curveball. I saw her face and just complete go, uh-oh.
Does it have to? I don't know if I can name one project, right? I will say I've been super fortunate since I've been with MC Squared to work with two really large, great brands who have had two pivotal moments, I think. We can name drop, right?
Yeah, as long as they don't get mad, yeah.
Oh, they ain't going to be mad. I love all of you. I would say, with Lucid Motors, obviously they're a startup in the EV space. Getting to work with them from literally launching the car globally to the world, all the way to where they're at now. There were a lot of come up with this bespoke random thing. It was all through the pandemic. So it was just figure it out. We need to deliver cars. We need to launch this brand. We need to open a factory. There were challenges that I've never had before. Everything's been out of the box. Nothing has been, your typical trade show or your typical anything. It's been so cool to take a brand from nothing to something. Granted, the EV market right now really sucks, but it is what it is. I wanted to say a swear word there, but I held back. So I think it's just been really cool to be on this journey with them, the ups and downs, the changes, an interesting economy. But it's been really a blessing. Shout out to Jeff Schuessler. And I would say I'd be remiss not to mention Light and Wonder. Obviously, they were Scientific Games before, but we've been along for the ride of that, even through their divestiture and their rebrand as Light and Wonder, and watching their tremendous success over the last couple of years. They just had the 2-year anniversary. Has been super cool. I don't think you get to live through those with clients every single day. Sometimes we're not even exposed to it. But the fact that they've really kind of worked with us and continued to treat us as partners and let us be part of their great journey has been awesome.
Which is it's so cool that you bring that up because, everybody always wants to go after the big dogs, right? The big brands that are out there that are already established. But you kind of sometimes overlook that one brand that has that brings that same hustle and that drive for their success. And it kind of just matches our push. And they want to tell their story. And that allows us, and I think, in my opinion, in an agency to be able to really kind of express that storytelling, creative capability that they always position out there to actually do it, like step up and help us grow just as you grow the business as well. And I always love that. And Lucid was, believe it or not, so it's funny that you bring up those two brands because when I joined the company, those were the two first projects that I was involved with. It was Lucid's IPO launch that we did, that experiential pop-up in New York City, the best city around. And then
I've never heard of New York, have you?
No.
Go Red Sox.
Okay, we're gonna cut that one out. And then the Scientific Games trailer, the road tour that they did. So it was kind of cool to be here to witness those two brands kind of launch and then what to where they got now. And the Lucid one is it's hysterical because I texted you a few times when all of a sudden we started seeing more of the cars rolling through New Jersey. I would send you pictures of them driving by me, and I'm like, they're out here. They're like, it's working, guys. So, no, that was very cool.
Something I'll just say in both of those instances, in both these relationships, is like I have a great working dialogue with both organizations, and I think they've both had moments where they're like, just show us anything.
Yeah.
Throw spaghetti at the wall. We're open to your ideas. We need help kind of thinking outside the box. So, like, if I was back on the client side, I guess I'd be pushing myself right now to be like, come up with something new. Let my agency throw some things around and see what sticks. You don't have to like it all, but at least it pushes you to.
It's our job to present it.
Yeah,
you
try
might
something
not
new.
like them, but it's our job to give you something out of the box or wacky.
And it's so funny that you bring that up because it's obviously during that whole kind of that pandemic era, there was a lot of reports and trends reports and market reports being pushed out there. And like, how are clients going to look at the agency partnership moving past this? And that is exactly the number one topic that I saw was brands are going to look for more of a consulting voice on who they partner with within the event space. Like, they want to hear, you tell me where my audience is going to be. I'll tell you who my audience is. Now, how do I connect with them? And that kind of just brings us full circle to the whole point of this episode, right? It's building that connection. Come on, you like that one.
Oh, wow. Really came
Connections for
full
days.
circle there, buddy. Way to round that out.
Oh, I'm just getting bullied on my show today.
It's like, what is this, episode 4? He's finally getting to it.
I'm canceling it now. We're done.
Drop the mic.
So what about you, Mike? What was your aha moment?
Sure, I'd say back in the time machine, years ago when Jess and I were working together.
How many years ago?
Couple, Bruno. Couple grays. Back when I was a young buck. But we started with one of our clients, and we had the portable program, something small. They did it in-house. We took that over. From there, we just grew the relationship and the trust with that client, which was really awesome. And then we went to RSNA, and it was Jessica and I, and we did an 80 by 160 booth. Obviously, we had some great team members that helped us with it. But it was just one of those, actually being there and being like, oh my gosh. Like, I lived, at the time, my condo was 800 square feet. The booth was 15,000 square feet. Like, the conference room was where I lived every day. And, like, that was one conference room for the executive one. So that was just one of those moments of, like,
Yeah.
like, we pulled it off and we did it. And we always talk about this business and how it's like, I always say it's like a bad relationship. Like, you go through, like, the turmoil of when you're really just grinding to get the show done.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the show opens, you're like, this is amazing. And it's like you're on a euphoric high.
Yeah.
And it's just so awesome.
Yeah.
And now that you kind of talked about the turmoil, that brings me to my next question. I like to allow people to talk about their aha moments, but I also like to go ahead and highlight the failures. What is one failure in your career without naming the brand? Because they'll definitely
Oh,
complain.
you're going first.
Yeah.
You're going
I
first.
always get stuck.
Tell me more about your failures.
Well, do we have enough time? How long's the podcast?
As long as you want.
It's like an 8-hour podcast.
The one that always comes to mind, we ended up pulling it off, but I'll never forget. I was sweating, and I've never had it. Like, I was borderline manic. Great, big client, great client. The hang sign, the graphic just wasn't there. We had the frame, we didn't have the skin. The shop couldn't find it. Just could not locate it. We ended up getting a new one produced in Las Vegas.
Oh, I know who it is.
The client's there staring at me, growling, just looking at me. I'll never forget. We got it up, and the cherry picker is going out the hall as they open the door. And I'm like, I'm going to have a nervous breakdown. Like that one, the whole flight home, I just stared at the seat in front of me, like, because I was so on edge. But we got it done. But it's just, it's those pieces, like those times when it's just, you don't know what to do. Who do you call? Who do you turn to? How do you get it done? You know, just where is it? It's not there. Like, where did it go? Did someone eat it? Did they take it? Did it get swallowed up? Like, where is it?
Spreadsheet somewhere.
Oh, gosh.
Did I meet that person at ABPM?
Yes.
I know. Yes. That was one story that was at the dinner table. I do remember that.
Oh, look at you. Memories.
I remember. Come on.
Wow.
What about you, Jess? She's like, I never fail.
Oh.
I like can think of a million close calls, but honestly, I wouldn't say I've never failed, but I am like neurotic and make myself sick
But
over
in my
work.
mind, we failed. Like, we didn't have it, or
Yeah.
it worked out for the client, but it's just that devastating and the anguish that you go through.
But for some reason, I just thought of a personal instance where you think in what we do every single day, this wouldn't have happened to me, but I just recently moved and I got a new couch, and it's an oversized piece of furniture, and they're like, you got to sign this waiver if you're going to get this delivered to your house. I'm like, yeah, I already checked. They said the doorways are this wide. Good to go. Sign off. You know, it's like 50% restocking fee or whatever. And of course, this couch shows up and the guy's like, that ain't going to go up there. I'm like, no, it is. Try. And he made me sign another waiver right there. And it didn't fit. It wouldn't go in the house. I'm like, you think someone who literally looks at dimensions all day long would have got this right? But don't worry. For $200, they'll haul it over your balcony and get it right in that slider. And, you know, the couch made it. But
You're like client number one for them. They're like, let's just get every dollar we can.
Literally. But the only other thing I can think of is like, you'll know who it is by the time I mention that it has to do with a car. But we designed something with a few tiers to a platform, and you know, your brain doesn't go, how am I always get the car on something. So we didn't think through the ramp situation, and on site, we just had to ad hoc and make like a double ramp, and it was being loaded in at night. It was like just down to biting your nails. Yeah. But we knew we could figure something out. It's just, how are we doing that? And figuring out on site isn't always the best. So
that like reminds me of at CES. I cannot imagine being the guy or woman sitting behind the wheel of the car that has to go up this makeshift ramp to a platform. Like, do you remember? I don't think, were you there with me with the Bugatti?
I don't think so.
I forgot who was exhibiting at CES right around the corner from where Samsung was. But
it's definitely them.
They had a Bugatti on the stand, and I had to watch this individual pull it in reverse and go up like literally two 2x4s onto a platform that was maybe 6 to 8 inches off the ground. And everyone was gathering around, like waiting for him.
That's every car show in America. Everybody's looking around like, can I borrow your ramps? Can you help me? Can you spot this?
I'd be terrified. I could barely reverse into my garage right now at home. I can't imagine $1 million on 4 wheels getting onto that 2x4.
We'll buff out. That's fine.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Buff out.
So we spent some time on talking about the prospect/client relationship and building the program portfolio from there. But we haven't really kind of dove into the partnership side of this industry. And it's something that we actually spent a lot of time on the first episode, where we had Chris and Nicole on, and we highlight a lot of the success that came off of building that relationship with Chael worldwide, right? Especially around CES. So I like to kind of dive into that a bit now with you two. In your eyes, and if you think they're totally cool with it, you can absolutely go ahead and mention their name. What is the importance of building that relationship and with partners within our industry?
Obviously, the Chael Samsung partnership is agency client. But when you said partners, I immediately thought of vendor partners. Mm-hmm. We couldn't do it without them. Yep. There are so many times where we're in it together, right? And the closer and tighter you are working with your partners, the more competitive of an offering you can deliver to your end customer. So in my mind, it's critical to have really great partnerships, understand one another. You scratch mine, I scratch yours, you know. Mm-hmm. Things pop up. Shit happens on site.
Completely.
Michael's paying for mine, he said. Michael's
Swear
paying.
jar.
So close.
Let's go.
He
24 minutes in. And we
Just
haven't
like
done
the
one
old
F-bomb.
days, he's paying for me. Steak and potatoes.
But as Jess said, we were talking earlier about the clients. And you have that relationship with the clients that you go through the good, the bad, and the other in the personal life of the client. You also do with the partners that we work with. It's your road family. When you're looking at 5 or 6 shows a year, who's going to answer the phone at 2 a.m. when you call? Like, Freeman just called and they backed into the booth and the tower went over and now my AV's broken. Like, can you get me 5 new screens? And of course, they're not normal screens.
Yeah.
It's going to be some crazy OLED or something that we have that you're like,
Yeah.
okay, how soon can we get that on a plane and get it here? That's, but it's the people that answer at 2 a.m. that you really appreciate, and it comes over time. It's not something you can buy, in my opinion.
And the best partners get it. They'll help you come up. If they don't have it, they'll pass you to the next person they know has it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
no isn't an answer. They'll figure it out. We'll figure it out together. So I would say it's pretty critical to have some tricks up your sleeve and friends in your back pocket.
And trust is a big part of that. I think in transparency, I've found just be straight with the person. Don't BS them.
Be upfront.
Yeah. That's
Even the client, tell them this is what's going wrong. We're working on it. We'll get back to you shortly with a
right.
solution.
Yeah, because they see that on your face. That smile can.
Not me. I never show it.
Yeah.
You don't have emotions.
Yeah, ignore those tears.
There's no soul in
Ignore
Jess.
the tears.
You have those ducks
I'm not
moved around.
crying.
All right, awesome. So again, it's right with the whole partnership and the connections. This industry has so many actual events for the individual, for the professional that's in it to go ahead and connect. They literally force feed you opportunities to meet the next partner of your career, right? In a professional way. And some of those association events is the biggest platform to do so, right? Like we were just talking about our presence coming up for SEMA Summit. Where do you guys, when you look into those type of events, what is kind of that game plan, that focus going into it? What do you want to go ahead and achieve out of those events?
Well, in my role for growth, I just really want our brand to be exposed. I want to share more about what our core pillars are and product offerings are. A lot of people think MC Squared only works on trade show exhibits because we have been doing it for 50 years, but we offer so much more. So just exposing them to that, exposing them that we're global and sharing, the reach that we have. Both of the programs I supported prior to this role were both global programs that didn't start that way, but grew to be that way. So folks who are looking for that, I don't want to call it one-stop shop because it isn't that you can fulfill everything under the sun in a program, but we can help in a lot of ways across the world that I don't think people know about. So for me, it's really brand exposure and talking more about our capabilities.
Yeah. And Mike, you and I were just in Santa Clara, so let's go. I want to hear this.
Sure. My takeaway on it is more of just meeting, a client of ours up front in the beginning, and it's like we're not in the setting of the show floor. You don't have that stress. You don't have
Good point.
Anyone else breathing down their neck for deliverables or their executive leadership team asking them for changes or last minute things. So you can actually get to know someone and hang out and talk. What are your problems? What are you looking for? What is going well for you? What's your best practices? That's what I like. That engagement to me is a lot more enjoyable, just because you don't have the stress of the show and the background noise.
So are you saying that the Mike Hanifan doesn't sell 24/7?
Oh, no.
Is that the
never.
case? So you go into those events completely open?
Just easy breezy, low key.
Got it. Understood.
He'll come in for what he wants from you later.
Yeah. He'll steal your business cards when you're not looking.
Sneak attack.
No, I take the whole bowl at the end. from
Yeah.
everyone.
Oh, what was this for? A drawing? Mine now.
Don't be giving my secrets away.
So in talking of secrets, let's talk a little bit about the sales cycle and kind of your best practices behind them. Yeah. Without giving everyone the secret sauce, right? Because I don't want anybody to beat us out on any opportunities coming up. But kind of discuss a little bit about what you look at in a sales cycle for anyone that could be coming into the industry from the very beginning. Like they have no idea what to expect. What are some of the best practices that you've given? And don't check a bag like Ben did. He took that one already.
Oh, I tell them to run. Just kidding. From the business, the industry, kidding. We always say the industry is like a boomerang. I think during COVID, you saw a lot of people leave it, and they came back. There is nothing like the show business. It's
Oh, it's a sickness.
crazy. It's mental. But we have a great time, and it's fun. I think you just need to really have patience and faith in yourself if you're looking at someone that's new that's coming into it, because there are certain times that this business will challenge your soul and your spirit.
Yep.
You know, you just keep going, and it will get better. And sometimes things happen, or FedEx doesn't deliver a package that you're waiting on, and you're going to cry. But there always is a solution and a plan B, and you just got to work through it.
Yeah, I would say my advice, someone super green, they don't know anything, is like, you need to know what you're selling people, because we're not in a world anymore where it's fake it till you make it. The smoke and mirrors isn't working out for people anymore. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing more of that over time. Like, they told me it would be a bus inside a scuba tank or whatever, and then they show up and it's not. So you need to understand what you're selling and understand what you're talking about. If that means getting out on show floor, going to an event, understanding all the things that it takes to get to the end result. I'm not saying you need to know how to do everybody's jobs, but you at least need to know what you're selling. That's number one. And then number two is like, understand your client's job. Yeah. They have a product to sell. They have people to please. They have, sales, leadership, all the things Michael mentioned a little bit earlier. I think some people go into it being like, oh, got the sale, moving on with life. No, if what we're selling them doesn't meet all the needs or satisfy their KPIs or their strategy or their goals, like, then what are we doing it for? And they're not going to be a return customer. So do your research and then know what your customer, their goals are.
Yeah, and you've been here for, I would say, in the growth department, there's been a shuffle, right, in how the teams were structured, right? We went from the BD to now the SSE model. Mm-hmm. Do you find that there's a difference in those best practices from one to the other, or is it just a straight shot across the line?
No, there's definitely been a change. We moved away from that just purely hunt model because clients want one throat to choke. They don't want. They don't.
That's the best way to put it.
Yeah, they want one throat to choke. They
just
don't want
to.
Yeah, they don't want to be like, oh, I signed my contract and now I have 7 strangers I'm working with every single day. They're not the person who promised me all the bells and whistles. I want to talk to that guy. So we've moved back to a model where you really need to stay close to your customer and like wine and dine, nurture, build, grow, all those things.
Just seeing it from concept to completion. It's like you said, what you promised in the beginning gets delivered through the end.
Yeah.
We all know I'm not good with tools, so I'm not physically going to build it, or else I wouldn't have any digits.
Yeah.
They don't even let me touch a screwdriver. Jess gets me with my own little Tyco little one, my own little belt.
Yeah, he's a Lego set of your booth that he practices at home before show site.
Then she gives me a math problem to confuse me.
So one thing that I've always loved is being really part of those conversations where the company is trying to figure out what the next city that we want to be able to go ahead and target, right? You kind of understand it and you see which cities have this potential growth within our industry. And it's almost like the housing market. You kind of start to see the waves of cities that take in the most amount of influx of citizens, so to speak. In this end, when I joined the company, our presence in Boston was kind of like this. It was really up and down. We didn't know if we wanted to go full in. We didn't know if we wanted to mainly focus in New York City. But then with your hire, it changed, right? We went all in terms of trying to really figure out how to hit that staple with Boston. Talk to me about that. Like with if I think of Boston, Massachusetts in the event space, what are the limits there?
Sure. I would say it's probably, overall it's limitless. We've got a great core of, account team that's up there as well. They've been awesome in handling that so far. But Boston, just because it's the innovation hub, we have so many startups. We've got medical. There's a lot of med device in that area, as well as computer software on that side for cyber. But we've got a huge presence, so it's really been fun on that, just to grab new clients, new projects. Like I always try to pick 1 or 2 great clients or key clients in each market and run with them. I don't want to have 20 clients in one medical device area because you can't really give your attention to your best ideas to. So let's just try to grab 1 or 2 big key players in each different segment, and then we can spread it across all the verticals.
Yeah, that's awesome. We won't even talk about how I went to Boston for the first time and you just completely ditched me, but it's totally fine.
It's okay.
You let me hang and dry. This guy.
You
when you
did?
wore your New York, he had his New York
You didn't
Yankees.
take him to like Kelly's roast beef or something?
He had his Yankees
I
hat
did
on,
have my
his
Yankees
jacket.
Oh,
did.
God.
We were going to
I
take
did.
it up on
Why?
the side of the road.
I didn't have the jacket. I had the hat, and it
You
actually
wore the full uniform with the socks and the stirrups,
the
everything.
stripes. The stripes. You were just looking for a fight.
TSA did not treat me right at all at that airport.
You didn't think
proud of
that
them for doing
decision
you
through.
dirty.
I got pulled aside every single stop.
Why?
And the guy literally would look at me as he's undoing my bag real slow. And he's like, "What time's your flight, buddy?" I'm like, come on.
A lot of strip searches, Bruno.
All right, we're not going to
You'll
get
be
down
all
there.
right. You'll be all right.
Don't have your body. Not
That's
your spirit.
squared away after night. So anyway.
Doesn't count if you liked it.
Oh, God.
You thought the swear jar was going to be trouble.
This is, yeah.
I'm almost on my harassment training.
I was about to say, we did just have to complete a policy
Yeah.
course.
Shout out to Cantola. My bad.
So, Jess, sticking up with you right now, you had the best of both worlds. You literally went from Boston to the New York area, and now you're back to where you originally were started in Vegas.
Yep.
What are the differences in what you've seen within each one of those cities?
I mean, obviously Vegas has everything, right? It's easy to operate in. There's so many resources. You could do anything there. The options are endless. They really are. I mean, we didn't think we'd be dropping a 5-foot diameter pig from the ceiling at a show and did it. So,
Which was awesome.
yeah.
With Steve Aoki.
I love that the mentality in Vegas is really like we can do anything. Money can get you anything. In Boston, that's a true testament what Mike said. There are great brands there, right? There's a lot of innovation. I don't see that in Vegas. There aren't huge corporations. Obviously, we're pretty relevant within the gaming space right now. That's a lot of what it is. But, you know, if you looked up biggest companies in Las Vegas, it'd be like Zappos or things not super relevant to our industry or people who are even operating within our industry.
Yeah.
So I'd say when you're prospecting, it's a little more challenging out there, but if you're activating in that space, super easy. While living out here, I don't know. I traveled everywhere else during that time except here. So I don't even think I can relevantly answer. I was like, I lived here for 15 months and I was gone for 13 of them.
Do you actually pay like New Jersey taxes? Or you're
Oh,
gone so much you didn't
unfortunately,
have
I
to?
paid those New Jersey taxes.
And it pushed her out of here. She ran away.
Yeah, I never left so fast. I said, lease is up July 2nd. I'm out of here July 3rd.
Well, that's a perfect segue now, because out of anyone within this company, I would say if you take Ben away, your wings have been flapping out there. You visited Singapore. You visited Australia, Dubai.
Man, do I hope I'm like a phoenix and not some weird bird.
Your miles must be amazing right now. Let's talk about that, because when I had Ben and Jasmine here, Jasmine brought up a really good point where she says one of the biggest things that I noticed when I left was that culture shock, where it's like, oh, I'm in Amsterdam where things are a lot more different, where maybe the resources aren't as easily accessible as literally being in Vegas, where you can walk outside and there's 20 vendors that can help you out. What was that culture shock like for you in terms of every single, at this point we can say continent, because you have gone to several continents now.
Yeah. Jasmine, we're getting you a travel steamer. Don't worry. We'll put that in your suitcase. I know that's what you were looking for. I was just thinking about my first international travel was actually with
memories.
Michael. And we went to Dusseldorf and Amsterdam, believe it or not.
Just
Yeah,
boy.
he brought me to the secret garden in the middle of nowhere. It was a very interesting experience. But I would say culture shock, the way things are executed in other countries, it is different, but it's also very much the same. So do your homework beforehand. It's not rocket science to put every booth on a platform or measure things in meters, guys. Like with an hour of online learning, you could figure this out. Going back to partners, it's important to have really good partners, because sometimes working internationally, you get what you pay for. If someone's telling you, I will do this for 50% cheaper than 2 other, bids or somebody else, look into that. Because what you will see on site are booths waving around, or a gust of wind comes and your display's going over, and you don't want to be that guy. So I would say it's pretty critical to look at who you're working with and then vet them, maybe ask for some references.
Yeah.
So you can make sure you're not going to walk into a shitty situation.
And the hardest part,
Second curse word.
The hardest part of that, I think, overall, I mean, we do the design intent form. You can tell the partner, whether it's internal partners or even though a sister company, we always call them partners as well, because we treat each other on that level. They're our client when they come to the States, and we're their client when we go there, even though we're all one family with MCH Global. The part of it, I think, is...
MCH Group.
Oh, it's group, sorry. It's a stressful day over here, Bruno. Leave me alone.
No pressure.
The hardest part I always find, though, is I think the language barrier. The design intent, you can spec a floor, you can spec a color. Like, it might be a little bit off, but it's for the most part close, that you're there. Mm-hmm. It's when it's really a language difference. Like, my first time I went to Dubai, I'll never forget trying to have, like, they didn't speak English, and I didn't speak the language. I believe they were Pakistani at the time, and we couldn't converse. But we had to figure it out and try to be like, this has to be there, that has to go there, and go through that. And we made it happen. It's just that, to me, is the hardest part. It's just sometimes the language barriers.
Yeah, and you touched on a little bit of that, of our global reach, right, with MCH Group, and shout out to Expo Mobilia, MCH Global, our Basel, and so forth. How much does that help us, not only in positioning us in front of the brand side, but also internally when going from start to finish, right? The discovery, the delivery, all that.
Using Mike's exact example, we have a show coming up in China at the end of May. I'm working with Expo Mobilia, and their team in Shanghai, speaks the native language. So I'm definitely bringing, project managers and those folks on site with us because I don't speak Chinese or Mandarin yet. I'll be practicing on the flight over.
Jess will teach herself on her
at
iPad.
least the
Yeah, she will.
I'm on Duolingo. But either way, I think it's a game changer. It is literally a game changer because we communicate all day long in English, and there are still some things, I would say, even quality, fit finishes, right? We use different words to describe different things, but we always, like, between pictures and just the willingness to figure each other out and get the end product right, get to the finish line. But even, I would say, Singapore was the other one I did, where that team was so critical in having a local on-site team, having a translator, and just making sure everything was 100%.
I'm so jealous you went to Singapore.
You are?
I'm dying to go there.
Felt like Las Vegas of there, but I didn't have enough time to go do more.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
I think it's pretty much just reiterate what Jess said. It's all overall, just the language, the culture, and just making sure you get those nuances from each area, kind of flushed out.
Yeah. And on the client part, right? So I mentioned, 2 clients that I worked with who did not start global, but then became global. It was only through our sister companies that I could make that happen. Had we have like random partners across the world. Oh,
look who it is! Come on in.
Some sort of New York Knicks theme song, but we've never heard of them. What are you, the brand ambassador for New York? Are you the mayor?
I think the Celtics are doing pretty well.
I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
Stand right here. Show the crowd.
Weird. Tom Brady's getting a roast on Sunday. I think I'll roast Ben as well.
We have Ben Nazario joining us.
Sorry for that background.
Show the hat.
Kids.
There we go.
Look at all this lettuce.
There we go. Look at him go.
Help. You need help.
New York. These guys, these are the best in the business.
You got to talk into that microphone if you want
These
them to
two
know.
are the best in the business. The best.
It's like 3 characters right here.
Yeah. So I'm glad you guys are here doing this podcast.
Thanks, buddy.
They've been saying a lot of good things about you.
They say a lot of good things.
Great things.
Best boss
awesome.
ever.
I make cash.
I just wanted to pop in and say hello.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. A whole kiss.
All right.
I never get.
Go Knicks.
Are we going to the game? We're going to the game, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
What time should I be ready by?
See you there.
Bye, boss. All right. I mean,
Well
that was
You
awesome.
never know what's going to happen on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm kind of happy because I've been getting bullied all throughout this episode for being from the New York area. So I'm kind of happy that you guys got a little.
Please.
Perfect.
Toughen up, Buttercup.
All right, so let's keep it going with some lightheartedness here. So I have purposely cut this section out of every single episode note that I sent to our guests leading up, and it's called Square Up. This is where if you've listened to the last 3 episodes, which I'm hoping you do, we can do that as
My
well.
money's on Jess.
I didn't want it to go there.
She's a scrapper.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am going to throw keywords at you, and you have to literally tell me from right that in that moment, what's the first thought that comes to mind? And
And
each of you go separately.
appropriate.
I mean, the appropriate went out the window. So we're good.
Mother's gonna be pissed.
Let it rip. So we started off with putting Jess on the spot. I'm going with you on the spot.
Oh,
And-
now it changes.
Yep. Don't look at my screen.
Fred
'cause
and
I
Mo, I'm
saw-
sorry for what he says.
Yeah. So you ready?
Yep.
All right. Don't look at the screen.
I won't.
Boston.
Amazing.
Sales.
Winning.
Pharma.
Fun.
Martha's Vineyard.
Horrible.
Capitol Grill.
Delicious.
New York Sports.
Terrible.
You're
New York
good. That's it.
Staggies.
Oh, wow.
Jackie's Packy.
We're 34.
Siggies and beer.
Well done. Well done.
Oh, wow. And the crowd goes crazy.
You ready, Jess?
Okay.
Las Vegas.
I live there.
Marketing.
Cool.
Airplanes.
Love them.
Live marketing.
I can't think of anything.
That stumps so many people, which is crazy. We sell live
Well,
marketing
you said
events.
marketing before that. So it's like, exciting. The future.
MCH.
Cool.
Account management.
I mean, honestly, those are my road
One
dogs.
word.
I support everybody on that team. That's where I came up. Love you guys.
On that note, good job, you guys. You guys successfully squared up, and you got out.
Sorry, I froze
Thank
up
you.
there, man. I got to work on my live marketing reaction.
No, it's all good. So before we go ahead and wrap it up, I want to go ahead and open up the floor a little to you guys to talk about what you have ahead, whether it be a project that you want to definitely highlight right now to the audience, or a show or an event that you are about to attend. Starting with Jess, what do you got coming up? I know you're flying.
Okay, I would say like the top 3 big things that we have going right now are we're working on an exciting showroom project for Light and Wonder, which I'm pumped about in Chicago. That's something new and on the horizon. So that's in progress. As I mentioned, I'm going to China for G2E Asia. Looking forward to it because I've never been, and I think, you should always check something out once and be open-minded there. And then we've just started kicking off Art Basel Miami Beach. It sounds like it's far away in December, but it's just a behemoth and something we need this much time for. So that's what's on the horizon. And then just continuing to think about our business differently and the growth of that, whether that's operationally or in sales. So that's always at the forefront of my mind.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what we're able to partner up with Art Basel. I think a lot many people really see that relationship or know about the relationship on how we're all under the same MCH group umbrella.
Yep.
And that opens up the world open up the possibility of what we can offer our clients and prospects alike to activate. I mean, it's a beast.
Doesn't stop.
Art Basel Miami Beach is a beast.
And I think it forces brands to think about things differently.
Yeah.
How they show up there is different than any other place.
Yep.
Than how you're showing up in the trades and other things like that. So
Stage is huge. It's huge. I mean,
reach out if you want to show up at Art Basel. Shameless
plug.
Gauvin at mc-2.com. That was for you, Benny.
What about you, Mike? What do you got coming up?
So as of tomorrow, I go to Phoenix, and then from there going to RSA in San Fran, and then a couple days in Napa for some PTO. A couple more shows. We've got 8.
Didn't see that request
that is
come in.
not allowed.
Didn't see that request come in.
A PTO in wine country. Got it.
Yeah.
It worked out well.
While I'm here.
Might as well. In case if they need me at the show floor last night.
You'll be extremely useful. Yep.
Party gifts.
But then besides that, we've got ADA coming up, which will be fun with our clients for diabetes. And then personal trip, going to Japan this summer for the first time. I haven't been over that one.
That's awesome.
Something different. So
Well, what are the dates?
August
No.
9th through 14th.
I was like, why couldn't it be like June 7th so I could, third wheel it? Mom and Dad.
No, that's very cool. All right. So with that, I want to go and thank both of you for joining
Thank
on
you.
today's episode. For our audience, our listeners, thank you again. This is episode 4 of Squared Away. I'm your host, Bruno Silva. Take it easy, guys.
Bye, everyone.